I want to use this video to start building your visual vocabulary with points, lines, and planes. So much of the struggle with geometry, especially learning geometry on a screen, is that geometry happens in 3 dimensions, right? And so figuring that out on your paper, or on a screen, which is only 2 dimensions, can be really, really tricky. So we're going to do our best to try to build some visual vocabulary of how we can talk about these 3 dimensional things in 2 dimensions. Okay, so let's communicate with some diagrams, right? Let's build that visual vocabulary. Okay, collinear points X, Y, and Z. So 3 points that are collinear mean that they're on the same line. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line because we know they're collinear, if I can. Because we know they're collinear, let's draw a line. And since these points are all collinear, well, they all fall on that line, right? X, Y, and Z. Not too bad. So that's collinear points. Coplanar points, X, Y, and Z. So now we have a plane. There's our plane. And our points are anywhere on this plane, right? We have X, Y, and Z. Right? Anywhere on that plane. I would say that sometimes collinear points can be coplanar, or collinear points are always coplanar, but coplanar points are not always collinear. Okay, plane P. Plane P. So we've got a plane, not like an airplane, but just a normal plane. And when we're talking about planes, we use cursive uppercase letters to define them. So something like that. I don't know. Get fancy with it, right? It almost looks like a Q, a lowercase q, but find some way to make your P fancy. I don't know. That looks kind of like a G. So, anyways, just a fancy uppercase P. Plane MDT. Now, plane MDT is now defined. So again, we're going to draw a plane that has 3 points on it. M, D, and T. So remember, planes are defined as being formed by 3 collinear points. So this plane MDT, there's these 3 non-collinear, I don't know if I said collinear, but planes are formed by 3 non-collinear points, right? So this plane MDT, we've got 3 points, M, D, and T, that are not collinear, and they make up that plane. This coplanar points, X, Y, and Z, and plane MDT, that's saying the same thing. Okay, let's look at a few more. Okay, intersecting lines. Intersecting lines, pretty easy. You got a line, and I'll make them true lines. Get some arrows if we can. There's a line. And if I can. Here's another line. Okay, and when 2 lines intersect, they form what? Oops. Well, sure. They form a point right there. So when we'll talk about this later. So intersecting lines, when they intersect, they form a point. Okay, a line contained in a plane. So let's go ahead and draw our plane. Just like that. A line contained in it, it's almost like if you were to draw a line on a piece of paper, right? It's contained in that plane. So if you took a piece of paper and drew a line on it, That would be a line that's contained in that plane. Okay, well, what about a line intersecting a plane? What does that look like? Well, let's draw our plane. That's not a plane. Let's draw a plane. And a line intersecting that plane, it's almost like if you took a pencil and punched it through a piece of paper, right? It goes through the plane, and again, intersects at one, intersects at one. Never know when technology is going to get away from you. Okay, intersects at that point right here. And usually we would try to draw this line dotted right here. Obviously we have some technological limitations, but just to show that, right, if you were to punch, like right here, if I were to punch this stylus through my hand, you can only see, you can't see the whole stylus, right? It kind of gets covered up a little bit. So the area that's covered up, that's that dotted line. Okay, a vertical plane is a lot like a horizontal plane, except it's vertical. It almost looks, me, kind of, I think about like one flap of a book, if you were to just kind of flap it open. So that's a vertical plane. Yeah. And then let's go last but not least, we'll talk about horizontal planes and intersecting planes. Okay, horizontal plane, that's what I've been drawing the whole time. Just like that. A plane that goes, that's oriented horizontally rather than vertically. Intersecting planes, let's see. So let's take a horizontal plane and a vertical plane and have them intersect, just like that. Now, two things about intersecting planes. One, right, they do kind of cover each other up a little bit. So let's say that my vertical plane covers up this part of my horizontal plane. And then that would mean that my horizontal plane covers up this part of my vertical plane. Hopefully that's visible to you. Hopefully that makes sense, right? That we've got the horizontal plane covering up part of the vertical plane and the vertical plane covering up part of the horizontal plane. Something you'll notice is that when these two intersect, they actually form a line right there. Right? There's a line formed when those two planes intersect. So again, it's hard. Geometry is so visual, right? So not only are we thinking about this in terms of words, in terms of numbers, we also have to think about it in terms of shapes and figures. So hopefully this video helped build that visual vocabulary just a little bit more.